Testing, 1, 2. Oh, it works. All right. If you guys wouldn't mind finding your seats, we're going to go ahead and get started here. All righty. Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you guys wouldn't mind rising real quick. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. I feel kind of weird. All year I've been using a handheld microphone and now I'm hands-free. It's odd. But good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to introduce the Undersheriff, April Luckett-Fahimi.
You got my name right. You only heard it once. I'm so proud of you. There we go. All right, so I'll hold it just in case. As Tristan said, my name is April Luckett-Fahimi, and I'm the Undersheriff here in Alameda County. On behalf of Sheriff Sanchez, I'd like to thank you for all being here today and welcome you all to Alameda County. It's great to have the oldest and largest organization of communication professionals in our beautiful OES building, our Office of Emergency Services. So thank you all for gracing us with your presence. I hope you enjoy your day here. We here in Alameda County pride ourselves on being great partners, great collaborators, and great hosts. I was lured here actually with the promise of great coffee and pastries, so that did not disappoint, so thank you all for that. If there's anything that we can do while you're here to be of service, please let us know. Happy to help. I will actually be in this building most of the day, so if you see me around and you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to stop me and reach out. I would love to thank Brenda. Brenda is an amazing communications manager here in Alameda County. Her connections to groups such as NAPCO really allows us to have some of the best, well-trained, well-equipped folks in the county. We are a great resource to our neighboring law enforcement and public safety partners, and it's all because of the work that she does and her connection to folks like you all here in this room. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Alameda County, I am not from Alameda County. I'm an LA girl, Bay Area transplant, but I do live here in Alameda County and I do love it. So if you need any restaurant recommends, please reach out. I'll be happy to send you to some good spots. Great restaurants, great sights to see. And I live in Livermore, where there's some of the best wine you will ever find here in this nation. So please come and visit us. Would love to have you there as well. Again, I hope you all enjoy your day here today. I'm sure you have a lot on your plate, and I won't keep you. I'm headed next door for another meeting that I'll be at for the remainder of my morning. And again, if you need anything from me, please reach out. Thank you again, Brenda, for hosting and having all of these wonderful folks here in our space. And again, if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Maybe? There we go. See, I told you I'm not used to this whole lapel mic thing. Sweet. Well, we're going to do our introduction. So if you wouldn't mind, please saying your name, agency. If you're with a commercial partner, give a couple minutes to talk about your product. And we're going to go get started right here, since you're the brave one to sit up front.
A lot of space up here. I'm enjoying it. George Ziegler. I'm with JPS Interoperability Solutions, formerly with Aeroflex. I used to sell a lot of agencies digital radio test sets. My company now deals with gateways for communications, interoperability, or push-to-talk over cellular, creating dynamic, remotable networks, just ways where radios probably fall short, and we can bridge gaps. And so I'll probably stop and see you throughout the day. Thank you so much for your time. Where do I go next? Someone over here?
morning, everybody. Terrell Harper. I'm with the City of Stockton IT Department.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Mayank Bhatia. I'm with Nokia, and good to see a lot of familiar faces again. And I'll be speaking today about something very innovative Nokia has been working on in the drone space, so looking forward to it. Thank you again for having us over.
Hi, everybody. Mike Larson with Motorola Solutions, and I'm the account manager for the East Bay Area, Alameda and Contra Costa County, as well as Napa County.
Good morning, Shelley McMahon. I'm with Cal OES, and I'm also one of your board of directors.
Hi, good morning. I'm Brenda Bruner, Alameda County manager, and also one of your board of directors.
Good morning, Larry Weber. I'm the Southern California chapter CCAM and also owner of the sales group, which is a manufacturer's representative that sells products into 911 centers and infrastructure and radio site companies, and as well as agencies. So we have a lot of products to talk about to all our customers in this room. So anytime you ever feel like you need to know where to get something, you're welcome to call me, and if I don't have it, I'll let you know who does.
Thanks, Larry. Good morning, everybody. Dan Marcus, Vice President of Business Development for RGB Spectrum, headquartered here in Alameda. And we are a manufacturer of multi-view KVM solutions for the desk and for the video wall. We're proud of our contribution in this space here for the video wall, and we enjoy working with all of our public safety dispatch customers. Thank you very much.
Hey, good morning. Chris Baker with the U.S. Department of Commerce Risk Responder Network Authority Stakeholder Collaboration Division, and kind of filling in for Kevin Nida here as well today. Have a good day.
Hello, Marshall Briggs with Marin County Radio Communications. I'm the supervisor over there.
Morning, Bill Schmay with Tally LLC. Tally is a nationwide distributor of wireless infrastructure and mobile products. We've got 12 facilities or distribution centers, I should say, across the country. The newest one we're opening this month is in Orlando, Florida. And we basically support two-way radio, microwave, SCADA, various wireless applications, and sell everything from mobile antennas, cable connectors, test equipment, to radio towers. So the closest facility that supports Northern California here is up in Gold River, the Sacramento area. So we have a distribution facility that's stocked up there if you guys need anything for this market. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Barry Driver, work with Larry, sales group. We're picking up a new product line, maybe new to you guys. Have you guys ever thought about using high-powered magnetics to put antenna structures onto your water tanks, water towers? So it's maintains the integrity of those structures. So there's no welding, there's no drilling, there's no nothing. So it's just magnets. So if you guys are interested, if you guys have a radio site, we'd be more than happy to talk to you. We have cabling as well, grounding, suppression, lightning suppression products. We have just about everything for you guys from the entire package. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Aurelius from Public Safety Innovation. We design, build, and support your mobile communications vehicles and specialty vehicles. We've moved into handling hostage negotiation vehicles, drone support, and anything you might come up with. Where's that going?
Michael Proscia, San Francisco, radio RF infrastructure, and also secondary frequency advisor. Still kind of learning a little bit of the back-end processes under John Lemon.
Melvin Robinson. I'm with the United States Park Police. We're at the Presidio, Southern Marin County, just across the bridge, and that's our jurisdiction, all federal properties. We have offices in San Francisco, New York City, and of course, Washington, D.C.
Good morning, my name is Jamie Johnson. I'm with Motorola, and I support PSAPs in the Central Valley in Northern California. I assist PSAPs with their 911 next-gen call handling solutions.
Good morning, Mandy Montalvo. I'm the Public Safety Communications Manager for the Elk Grove Police Department.
Melissa Graham, a Sports Services Supervisor for East Bay Regional Park District.
Good morning, I'm Stephen Katz. I'm with Flying Lion. I'm going to be presenting with Mayank of Nokia, talking about drones and first responder programs.
Ali Hirsa, Aviat Networks, microwave products and other accessories. Good to see everyone. It's been a while.
This is Sherry Liu from Aviat and working with a league together.
I'll do it next. Mike Beckstrand with Cal OES out of Reading, and I'm your chapter vice president.
Good morning, Carl Grover with the City of Roseville and the chapter president-elect.
Jim Lencioni, your chapter PIO with the County of Placer also. And just a reminder to everyone, if we have questions or anything, our presenters, we are streaming to YouTube, where we have several watchers online. So if it doesn't go into this mic or in one of the mics, it doesn't get to YouTube.
And I'm Manny Vieira. I'm your CCAM and also a member of the Commercial Advisory Council. And welcome, and thank you, Nokia, for being our sponsor today.
Thank you all very much. It's great to see everybody here. Is this getting feedback? Yeah? All right, I'm switching to handheld finally. All right, is that better? Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with our committee reports. Since I have the microphone, I'm going to give my reports real quick. The first thing is that December 6th, down in Southern California, CPRA is going to be doing their Board of Directors installation dinner. So I was invited to go down there. If anybody else wants to come hang out with me in Southern California and welcome in their new officers for their coming year. The next thing is on the legislative side of things. From last year's 911 Goes to Sacramento event, Cal Nina came back to us and was saying that we still owe a little bit of money, so we're going to be paying them probably about $329.85 to kind of help cover because they got a room block and it wasn't all booked up because nobody really wanted to stay in the hotel that long in Sacramento. So, but we are in the works of starting up for next year's 911 Goes to Sacramento event. So if you want to be a part of that, I went last 3 years and it's a great opportunity. You get to talk with the legislators, the lobbyists, you get to talk with everybody, really try and make an impact in our industry. So it's a huge benefit for our membership that I love that we support. It's between us, Cal Nina, and the Southern California chapter of NAPCO. We all go out there and just get to shake hands and schmooze and tell them about our problems and try and talk about the issues that we're facing. So if that interests you, keep an eye out on your emails, reach out to me, whatever works for you. So first person that you get to hear from that's not me now finally is going to be Manny giving us an update on the conferences.
Hello? Okay, there we go. Hi. So I want to do a recap of the 2024 conference. It was held in Garden Grove last month. We had over 80 vendors and 600 plus attendees. That was our first year to do a California show. I think it turned out pretty successful. Not that money means anything, but we probably actually did make a profit, which we're very pleased. We were hoping to break even for the first year and to make a profit. It tells a lot about what we could do in California. So moving forward, 2025, do we have a picture of the 2025? No. The 2025 conference will be held in Sacramento at the Convention Center on September 30th through October 3rd. It's going to be a 3-day event with over 80 hours of training classes, 2 full days of a vendor showcase type scenario where our vendors will be able to have a booth. There'll be exclusive hours both days from 10 to 2. We will have a event party at the end at the Train Museum. I'm taking reservations now. Of our 80 vendors at last year's show, I had a 95% sign up for next year. So for those vendors that are here that are not registered, this is my showroom floor. I already have 2 gold sponsors. Thank you, L3 Harris and JVC Kenwood. So if you haven't signed up, please talk to me. I don't need your money today, but I kind of need you to pick a booth because I'm running out of booths. So that's the good news. Now our local chapter, we will, next month, I think Carl's going to address this when he speaks about when and where our meetings will be. So as a vendor, please register. Thank you, Nokia, for today. Our first meeting will be in January, so we always try to get that one exposed early. It'll be at the Jelly Belly factory in Fairfield. So if a vendor wants to be a sponsor for that, please let me know immediately. I'd like to get that ironed out. Other than that, I think that's it.
Thank you very much, Manny. Yeah, it was definitely an amazing year to be a part of. So I'm in charge of doing the training classes and getting that all scheduled out for this coming year. So you know it's going to be good. Next up, I'd like to welcome up Shelley to talk about awards and recognition.
Good morning. Just wanted to do a recap of last year's awards. We had a wonderful award ceremony up for the Sacramento Queen, where we presented 7 categories of winners, and I think that went off pretty well. And we're looking forward, we're already planning next year's award ceremony that's going to be held on May 8th. And we're looking to also include a commercial sponsor of the year award as well. Nominations for this will open next month, I think after our chapter meeting in December, and the nominations will conclude on February 28th. So we're really looking for input for nominations. Next year's award ceremony will be held at the Oak Valley Vineyard in Lodi. We're working on getting caterers, and we're also looking for our sponsors, our commercial sponsors, to sponsor and also present awards to the awards recipients. So we're looking forward to that. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. I'm going to go ahead and give part of the report for the membership and nominations. We have nominations that will be opening up, I believe, after this meeting. We have 2 board of directors positions that will be open. So running for those 2 positions, we have Kirk Geary from Sac County, Manny Mandalvo from Elk Grove PD, and Susie Rivera from Folsom PD, retired. So we're going to be voting. Voting will close, I think it's like until the night before our next meeting in December, or at 8 a.m. that day of? Jim? During the meeting? Okay. So make sure once you get that email, you vote, because 3 people running, 2 spots, it's going to be tough. And then we also have Anna Trinidad nominated to be our vice president. She is from Stockton Fire Dispatch. And then the other thing that I wanted to give an update on is all year, you might have been hearing me talking about the grand door prize drawing that will be happening at the December meeting. So kind of want to give a little more information about that. So in December, you have to be present in order to win. But the more meetings that you have attended, the more entries you will have into this grand prize drawing. The last chance to get your name added will be if you pre-register for the December meeting. So all said and done, I think you would have had a total of like 9 different opportunities to get your name in this grand prize drawing. And I'm happy to announce that the grand prize is going to be an iPad. So make sure you guys go ahead, pre-register for that December meeting, get your names in there. This is a program that we're going to be continuing on for next year and the years to come. So, you know, if you didn't win, if you only got attended 2 meetings, attend more meetings next year. And then with that being said, I'd like to welcome Carl to give the report, finishing up the report of membership and nominations, and also speaking on programs.
Good morning. So we have 21 new members from Alameda County Fire Department, CHP, Pyramid Communications, RF Signalman, Roseville Police Department, San Mateo County Public Safety Communications, Stockton Fire Department, and the Tulare County Fire Department. That brings our total membership to 883 members. In terms of the programs committee, our next chapter meeting is in Sacramento in December at CHP headquarters. We did go through the last board quarterly workshop looking at 2025 locations. I'm not going to cover all of them. We'll have them listed out at the next meeting. But as Manny was saying, the first meeting in January is at the Jelly Belly Factory in Fairfield. In February, it'll be in Roseville, and then in March, we'll be looking at Fresno, coordinating with Cook's Communications and Liana from Cal OES to get a meeting out of our normal reach. So the entire list will be presented at the next chapter meeting. Any questions or concerns for programs or membership?
We have 883 members, and as a commercial person, when you register you register with your home chapter, and then it's $50 more to join a second chapter. We always appreciate the commercial side to join more than one chapter. I'm on multi-chapters. I know George just tried to sign up. It's a little difficult to add a second chapter. So if you're having an issue, please call me or call National and they'll take care of it. But it's really helpful if you register for multi-chapters. It helps us.
Thank you very much, Manny. And last but certainly not least, I would like to welcome up Brenda to give a report on operations and ProChart. I'll come to you. Make this real easy.
This is going to be really short. Good morning, everyone. So I just wanted to touch briefly on operations. One of the things that we are collectively working towards is creating a template for dispatchers, telecommunicators, and dispatch supervisors. It's important that we revise our job descriptions to include everything it is that we do, so that it does not look as a clerical position. It definitely highlights all the data that we're bringing in, the data that we're processing, the many software resources that we're using to do our job. All those things need to be listed as part of your duties and responsibilities of a telecommunicator. And as a dispatch supervisor, overseeing all these things and making sure that they're working, making sure that staff is being taken care of, being mindful of health and wellness and stress awareness, those type of things. We definitely need to have those things documented. That's on the one side. On the other side, we're looking at operational practices. Everybody's heading towards their next-gen 911 platforms and equipment to process information for our call-taking portion of the job. So we're getting together to start seeing the things that we need to be mindful of and the things that we need to support what it is we do. One of the biggest challenges is integrating a lot of platforms into one, and that's been a lot of the concern in our industry. So vendors, listen up. So we're definitely looking for a lot of integration. We are definitely looking for that. Minimizing the screen, minimizing our workers' compensation claims just from moving your head up, down, back, and forth to look at various screens. That is a concern. So with that, that's all I have for now. We're looking at recruitment and retention as well. That's on the horizon. So if you have any ideas for operations, definitely bring those forth to our working group. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. To try and keep us on schedule, we're going to go ahead and skip the networking break. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to my uncle with Nokia to give their presentation. It's on and ready for you.
All right, well, let me first connect. Coming up. Okay. Hello, hello, mic check. Sorry, see, that's why I don't do it. Can you guys hear me okay? Too loud? Okay, excellent. All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Mayank Bhatia. I'm with Nokia. Thank you for Manny and Tristan and the rest of the NAPCO actually, committee for having us over, giving us the opportunity to come over and talk about something I would really want to discuss with you from a public safety standpoint, and we'll touch on that, which is related to just now we were talking about the aviation, and now this kind of piggybacks off of that. It complements what you're talking about from a drone standpoint, and I've been around with Nokia for many, many years, so I've been in the public safety space for a long time. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces. I was talking to some people earlier. I didn't really disappear, but I was just trying to work on this new technology with Nokia, and now that I understood that we are ready to go and the ecosystem is built, so I wanted to come out and share with the community to see what we have built and brought to the market. We have done a similar session recently with CPRA as well a couple of months ago, and that was well received as well. And looking forward to our discussion and some engaging conversations. With me, I have our partner, Flying Lion.
Hi, I'm Stephen Katz with Flying Lion. A couple of your cities are current clients, or we're supporting you, both San Francisco and Elk Grove right now, and we'll talk a little more. Excited to be here, and we'll get deeper into it.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, so like I said, public safety is very near and dear to my heart. I was just catching up with some people. Why am I here today, right? What I want to talk about. Nokia, if anybody doesn't know Nokia, yes, it's the same Nokia from cell phone days, but they don't do cell phone, just to be clear on that. They have sold off the cell phone division. They have moved past cell phones a long time ago, more than a decade. Nokia has been traditionally, obviously, if you guys know a little bit about Nokia, it's an LTE, wireless wireline infrastructure company, and they're headquartered out of Finland. And they have been very, very committed and invested in the public safety enterprise space. And you might remember Nokia from, if you guys have your radio infrastructure from a backhaul standpoint for your point-to-point microwave as well as MPLS technology, and that's what I was involved with for a very long time. But now what Nokia has introduced is a true, if you guys don't know, drone as a first responder, and that's what I want to touch on today, a new technology to the market in terms of what they have come up with, and we're going to touch on that. So before we go into the Nokia portfolio in detail in terms of what this technology is all about. I want to just quickly touch on, because I'm not sure how much involved you guys are in the drone space. Honestly, a year ago, if you had asked this question to me, I probably wouldn't have known myself. But I was pleasantly surprised when I heard about some global numbers in terms of where this industry is going and how fast the adoption is happening at an exponential rate. So it's very promising, and given that all of us really care about public safety, I truly believe, based on what I've learned, that this is the natural evolution of first line of response when it comes to emergency services. So just to put things in perspective a little bit, looking at the screen, the expected revenue that was expected out of the drone industry, UAV market, was about 32 billion. And the projections are it is gonna hit 50 billion by 2030. And why Nokia is involved in the drone space, because that's the question you'd ask when you're working with statewide agencies, cities and counties, and the big players like the AT&Ts and Verizons to build their LTE 5G infrastructures. Why drones? What's happening? So what we saw, and this is like the technology is ever evolving, right? So when we saw that the technology that we have today, and then the drone industry that's being ramping up pretty fast, we saw a gap. So the gap was, if you guys know drones, you guys probably know that every time you're trying to use a drone, you need a proprietary technology like an RF or a mesh, because you're flying over the air, you need a joystick or a remote control to be able to do those operations. Now what Nokia does, as I mentioned before, is an LTE infrastructure company. So they have their proprietary technology, the modems, the chipsets to enable LTE and 5G. And when they saw the gap, that there is a clear gap of an evolution where you could bring the industry's first 5G enabled drone in a box solution. What does that mean? That means that now, instead of relying on a proprietary RF or a mesh or a Wi-Fi technology for your drone operations or automating the drones, now you can actually have LTE or 5G enabled drones that basically eliminates the observer or the rooftop that you typically need to fly drones around, because now you can automate an end-to-end ecosystem of drones from a click of a button through your computer, because it's running over LTE. So that, to me, is very important for us to understand in terms of how you can streamline your operations when you're controlling public safety emergency services with the drones as a first line of action. So I wanted to summarize, and I really don't have a lot of slides because I just wanted to have a quick chat here, but why I wanted to summarize what Nokia is doing that really I want you guys to really notice here is, which is very important to me. I don't know if I could do this. So all of us know in the US how important this is in terms of Chinese versus non-Chinese. And I'm not gonna start that discussion, but Nokia, as I mentioned, being headquartered in Finland, out of Finland, this drone is all made in Finland. To me, that's very important for our emergency as well as DoD services. As I mentioned, it's 4G, 5G capable, and more importantly, it's very important here because all of us know how tricky and time-consuming that will be, or that could be. It's FCC certified in the US already. So that, to me, is very important for deploying any kind of drone operations. Unless you have this, you can't fly around 5G-enabled drones over the air. As I was mentioning, right, that people who are involved in the drone space here would know that it's a very niche set of players, right? Because that's all they do. If they know drones, they're not gonna be involved in the other technology segments, if you will, if they're in the drone space, right? So that's what we have here. I wanted to highlight the niche set of players. You have the telecom vendors in the world, like the Nokias and the Ericssons and the Huaweis, which are Chinese. Then you have the UAV manufacturers, which are, again, the Nokias and, for example, Skydio and DJIs. And then you have sorry. And then you have the service providers, right? The AT&Ts and the Verizons who make it all happen for us from an infrastructure standpoint when it comes to wireless. There's really, if you look at this graph, there's really not a whole lot of vendors. In fact, I can't think of a second vendor who has this little filled area covered by all three bubbles. And that's where I believe Nokia is in a very strong position, because now you have Nokia, the UAV manufacturer. They have the telco know-how in terms of working with the AT&Ts and Verizons. And then, of course, they are one of the largest OEMs when it comes to the telecom vendors. This is just a snapshot of how this true drone in a box that I'm referring to looks like. And I'll show you something later on during the talk. But this pretty much is a high-level schematic of the drone, which is a drone at the top, and then this is something we call it as a docking station. What is a docking station? Docking station, think about this as a garage for the drone, right? So whenever you're flying your mission, you're automating your missions, and the drone goes out, does the mission, and it has to come back, it's not gonna come back on the floor, on the ground, because it has to charge itself. So this basically becomes a garage for the drone, which automates a true DFR solution end to end. One thing also I want to highlight here, as I was mentioning, that it's FCC certified as well as 5G enabled. T-Mobile has already certified this technology, because you will need the LTE infrastructure. It could be public or private, any of you who are involved in the private LTE, because that's the buzzword these days in the industry. But this technology is flexible enough to be able to support both public and private LTE. Let me show you guys a little video. This is just a quick 30 seconds. I want you guys to take a look at it, and then I'll talk about it in a second. So let me just play it real quick. The sound is pretty cool, I gotta say. All right, so what we just witnessed, what we just saw in this video was a production system that's been deployed by the country of Belgium. And they, if you guys know drones, you need either a certified pilot or you need an operator to be partnered with who is certified, because we all know in our public safety agencies and entities, resources are always tricky. We may or may not have, number one, the bandwidth to train our resources, or we just gonna outsource our drone operations from a flying standpoint. So what the country of Belgium, they have done is what you saw, CityMesh, if you saw the name. CityMesh is basically an operator who is partnered up with the National Agency of Belgium, and that video was basically a working production system that they're using for emergency services. So you'll ask, okay, great, Mayank, Belgium, okay, what are they doing, right? So Belgium is the world's first nationwide drone as a first responder deployment that is consisting of 70 DFR systems throughout the country of Belgium, partnered with CityMesh, which is pretty much our operating partner equivalent, Flying Lion, and they'll touch on that in a second. But what they've done is they've partnered with CityMesh, and they've deployed 70 DFR infrastructure boxes strategically throughout the country. So whenever there is a call from the fires or the PDs or any other mission critical agency, the response time has gotten down within less than 2 minutes. And that is a game-changing evolution in terms of how fast they're able to respond to any kind of a 911 equivalent call. And this is just a beginning, because once you have the infrastructure, now they are looking at partnering, because drone is just about electronics, right? So once the drone does a mission, why come back and just sit idle, right? So the idea is these drones are looked at as an infrastructure asset instead of just a mission critical commodity product. That way, the drones are always working for you in a way, meaning that you can partner if needed. And I know that gets tricky in the US, and each country, each region is unique in their own ways, but they are really partnering, especially when you have City Mesh or a Flying Lion in the mix, to have the infrastructure, and now you have public-private networks with all the partnerships across different agencies. I do want to give, I want to bring things to perspective in a way that, okay, that's great, Mayank, that's in Belgium, right? And yes, we understand that is the largest deployment from a country standpoint, but what's happening in the US? And that's where, when I said I was trying to build the ecosystem for Nokia for this truly differentiated solution, we have partnered up with one of our very established partners in the US, Flying Lion, and I want to give Stephen an opportunity to share the great things that they're working on in this space.
I'll let you forward the slides that way. So let's bring it back to kind of down to reality. We're dealing with the FCC. We deal with the FAA, right, which is just as difficult. Just be careful. It's another three-letter acronym. But the really important point, there's a leak at a park, and the Parks and Rec wants to see, is that sprinkler really leaking? Do I need to send out a team? A 2-minute flight is going to be able to tell a community what's happening. So this is getting you guys ahead of the curve. This is very cutting edge. As I said, San Francisco and Elk Grove are doing drone as first responder, which I'm about to describe. But there's lots of police agencies and fire departments that have drones. The next step of drones is flying them remotely. The next step beyond that is a community drone. That it's not police drone, it's not a fire drone, it's for comms, public safety, public works, parks and rec, code enforcement possibly if you have if you have the right paperwork, right, to do a code enforcement. Think of all the things that you might want to look around, something that an aerial view would be beneficial for. So what drone as first responder is, it started in Chula Vista. It's a California origin. And the idea is, how can we get a drone to launch within 30 seconds of a 911 call? This is how it all started. This is way before it's getting to a community drone, but I want to tell you how it got. So launches within 30 seconds. Within that, so it's a radio call. It could be a CAD call from computer-aided dispatch. Live 911 is a system that allows you to hear 911 calls. So the person flying the drone is hearing the 911 call in many cases. And then it also could be an automatic detection, gunshot, automatic license plate reader, right, responding to those types of things. Sworn, right now it's a sworn officer flying it, except we have a very innovative Northern California agency that has civilians in their dispatch and in their real-time crime center actually flying it. And they're doing a terrific job. So it does not have to be a sworn officer or a sworn police firefighter to give a very, very good data. The whole idea is it's live streamed real time. And there's a variety of technologies out there and partners and competing technologies. Typically, it's radio frequency. So right now, our business, we have over 50,000 drone as a first responder flights, right? That's 50,000 over the last about 4 or 5 years. Lots of flights across the whole country. New York City's doing this. San Francisco PD is doing this. Elk Grove, Campbell PD here in the north, right? A county has done a test up here too. So there's lots of agencies doing, that's drone as first responder. And so here's Chula Vista examples. The big move, the big concept here is the drone is first on scene to 75% of the calls, and that's uniform. That number is pretty consistent. Just imagine flying, from any city, but flying across San Francisco, a drone's going to win any patrol car, even if a patrol car is close, right? It's just going to win. And then, so 75% of the time, 74% of the time, they're first on scene. The average response time, typically for police and fire, is 5 to 6 minutes. Average response time for a drone is less than 2. And this is pretty uniform, right? And the idea is you place boxes and you have more distribution of boxes, you get even better response times. And there's a very interesting inflection point right now with the ability to fly without a human watching the airspace, or you used to have to watch the drone. Now you have to watch just the airspace around the drone. And there's some new approvals that just came through that say if you fly low enough, under 200 feet, you don't even have to have somebody watching the airspace, right? You have sensors that do it, and you can automate this, and that's the big move. This is where the inflection point and the acceleration of it. And why would we be talking to NAPCO? You're the backbone of this, right? And you're also one of the users of this. So it's very important. This is where you fit in this picture. Public safety, your chief of police, he or she already know about this. I can guarantee you they know about drone as first responder. There's more customers out here for you, right? You're one of the possible users. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, one more. You skip back.
Thank you, Stephen. Very helpful. All right, so as we just heard from Stephen, right, that how this is evolutionary in a way from a response time standpoint, from automation standpoint, from autonomous standpoint. End of the day, you guys, in my view, in our view, from an industry standpoint, are the backbone. You are the pioneers in terms of how this whole infrastructure, as I mentioned before, it's moving at such a fast pace. And the adoption rate, like just to name a few that Stephen was just mentioning about, the prime use cases are around making our lives safer and better. Not just from a community standpoint, but also from the worker standpoint as well. People like yourself who are helping us day in, day out, and all of us have a single mission to make this community a better place and safer place to live. So keeping that in mind, we have some key use cases, and I know the list is so long, it's honestly difficult to put it on a piece of paper because there's so many use cases that we could utilize these drones for as a community product. But the prime and the top-notch use case, for the obvious reason, is the emergency responses. Then you, of course, have the search and rescue, you have the threat detection, and then you have the border inspection, because there's so many use cases. Just to give you a perspective, like the Border Patrol is looking at deploying an infrastructure of the docks, right, throughout the border, and now you can do your inspection for border patrolling and automate the whole process from a click of a button, because this allows you to fly over LTE. You'll say, okay, great, Mayank. So this is good to hear, but what are my options in terms of, end of the day, the use cases are dependent on the application it's trying to help you with, right? And that drives the discussion around what are my payload options, because that is what the drone is gonna carry when they're doing the operations. So Nokia has partnered with, if you guys don't know, YellowScan is a payload specialist, and they are globally renowned, and they are prime partner in providing our LiDAR scanner when it comes to scanning 3D LiDARs. The most important and the prime use case is what just we were talking about, the live feed before the officer even gets to the crime scene is the HD camera. And then, of course, hey, it's no hidden, right? We live in California, and there's a lot of fires, and we have to be careful. So it does have a thermal video capability as well, which is very important. Some of the demos and trials that we have done, and I'll talk about that in a second, this becomes, especially in California, very important for us to consider. And then, of course, this is all about extending our network reachability. So we have partnered with Roden Schwartz, and these guys are helping us with the payload, especially built for network scanning as you guys are deploying emergency networks during a time of a disaster. Stephen just touched on, right? And I was going to thank Stephen for mentioning it. I had a slide as a surprise on that, but that's cool. We're still friends. I'm joking. It's all good. You did wonderful. So I was just mentioning I was just mentioning about Belgium. Belgium, hey, they've deployed the largest. That's what we thought as well when that was starting the deployment. When we started the deployment like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, we thought that, oh my God, this is big, right? But then this is where, going back to what I was talking about, that how fast and the adoption of this technology is happening. This is public news. Switzerland, the country of Switzerland, and this is just an effect at this point, right, that they all want to do the next best thing. And the entire country of Switzerland has now signed an agreement, and they are going to be deploying the world's largest drone as a service infrastructure consisting of 300 DFR units deployed throughout the country. So that by far, so far, is the largest ever that any entity at a nationwide level has signed up for to deploy UAV operations and automation. Now you'll say, oh, this is all great, but Mayank, this is US and we are public safety. How do we do this? So Nokia thought about this. We are not new to this industry. We're not new to our constraints and challenges that come with it in terms of budgeting, funding, and the cycle that we have to go through in terms of the process we have to go through for getting the money to fund these projects to make it better. So there are multiple ways to do it, right? And I like to use this analogy with Uber, right? That yes, obviously there's capital projects we can do all day long. We can deploy as a CapEx in terms of deploying the infrastructure that a lot of people prefer to do if the money is available. But then we want to be flexible. End of the day, we are looking at this as a service, right? And the service always comes with the flexibility of pay-per-use. And that is what I like to use Uber analogy that, okay, you only pay for when you use. And this is where the partnership with the Flying Lions in the US and globally other operators out there is really beneficial for public safety agencies, because this allows them to fast track their revolution of the infrastructure, at the same time keeping them within the budgets that they have approved for as part of their OpEx. So I just wanted to highlight that this is very important as you're doing your planning exercises from an infrastructure transformation standpoint, because this is something that is available today as a service if you wanted to go the OpEx route versus CapEx. So this is my last slide, and I wanted to end this and leave it up for any Q&A or any follow-ups we could do later on. But yeah, sure, this is great, but why Nokia, right? End of the day, that's the question that always comes at the end of the day. I'm a vendor, and I'm here to talk about it. But I really, truly believe, like I said, I've been in public safety for a very long time, and I truly believe that this is the next evolution of where we're headed from a first line of action standpoint. And this Nokia drone with this game-changing 5G enablement of true drone-in-a-box solution allows us to do that. And then the automation piece really is important because, yeah, you can have the most amazing technology, but if it's not flexible enough to automate my environment, my infrastructure, then, yeah, you know what, I can't use that. Keeping that in mind, the Nokia DFR or drone-in-a-box solution is an open API infrastructure layer, because that allows us to partner with the industry leaders like Motorola's. I know I was just talking to Motorola here a little while ago, and we have already done the integration with Motorola's CAPE software, which is pretty much a fleet control software for automating your drone operations, and it ties very well in the overall ecosystem of real-time crime center, and I'm sure a lot of people here are already involved with that. At IACP a month ago in Boston, we actually did a live demo of the Nokia DFR with the CAPE software flying end-to-end seamlessly. So to me, that is an important point to consider, right? Because the last thing you want is, yeah, I'm going to deploy something and now I got to rip and replace everything that I already invested in. No, that's not the right way to do it. We totally understand that and respect that. And that is why we have built the technology to be flexible enough to support that. End to end, this goes back to how we can make this ecosystem enabled your whole infrastructure. And to make that happen, we have actually gone out, partnered with Flying Lion. We have built a test bed facility for flying operations in California, in Southern California, 80 miles east of Palm Springs. We call it, no pun intended, we really call it Flytown. And it really is a true testimony of our partnership and investment in this segment, because we really want, yeah, we can fly the drones all we want, but we want to be mindful and respectful of the production network. So we want to have the capability for our agency partners to come over and really fly and test out the use cases that they really think that are priority for them, right? And that list changes. Most of it was the same, but then there are some tweaks around that, and we want to make sure that we have that capability. And the last thing is, I talked a little bit, but I cannot emphasize enough, right, that how important it is to be able to fly a 5G or LTE-enabled drone, especially the technology is moving than we can keep up with, to have FCC and the regulatory bodies certifications and approval. So to me, that's very important that we already have that. It's public news. It's already posted on FCC's website. And we are flying all day long over Verizon, T-Mobile, and other LTE infrastructure providers from a services standpoint over the network. So that being said, this is my and Steven's contact info. People who already have my info, great. If not, then I'll leave my cards here as well. And I think we will be posting the presentation on the website. And I really want to extend my thank you one more time for doing an amazing job for hosting these. And glad to be here, and I'll take any questions. Huh? Please.
Hold on one second. We have
Please.
to do it into the microphone.
I just met him in the parking lot. No, I did
figured that,
not.
Mayank.
No. We have officially partnered as Nokia with Flying Lion as our authorized distributor, reseller in the U.S. market. So they are our service provider, operator, as well as a reseller.
We provide the people. It's the easiest way of saying it, right? So how are you going to install it? How are you going to repair this? It's a drone, so you have to check regular, weekly, or daily, is it airworthy, right? Because it's an aircraft. So we provide those services here in the United States. So it would most likely be on Motorola paper, maybe Nokia paper. We're the back end, and we're here because we're the experts at flying drones.
Thank you. Please. Please.
Yeah, so I've never known Nokia to be like a major player in the video industry, although I do go back far enough and used to work on cell phones. I remember, I think it was the first video and cell phone, and was featured in a movie with Captain America Cellular, and he used it all throughout the movie, but the phone wasn't a success. But in any case, I remember that.
My dad still has a Nokia phone. He won't let it go. Like, my son works at Nokia. I'm going to keep it. So
anyway, what I was going to ask is, so like there must be some analytics or something like that, right? You know, like they're showing that situation, it's analyzing a fire or something like that, determining the situation. Are you guys doing that? Is that like a third party that they're partnering with? It's all Nokia.
We are partnering with the industry ecosystem players for the obvious reasons, right? That we are getting the chipset, but then the compute is where the intelligence is happening, if you will. And then there is like a deeper and a broader roadmap that we have in terms of, especially everybody knows about AI here, right? I don't have to explain that. But then as we're trying to, as a community, as humans, trying to keep up with AI, we also have our long-term future plans in terms of coming up with like newer and better feature sets in terms of artificial intelligence. But for now, it's all happening with the Nokia. And we are partnering with some of the industry players too.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. I know City of San Francisco is using it, but I don't know much about it. Different department from me.
Yeah.
I know we use a lot of Motorola Vigilon and their analytics. So I wasn't sure if maybe they're they can partner
So-
with those? You mount that on your drone and use it or something?
So we have our own partners in terms of bringing the payloads, if you will, right? So we are not that far, because if you think about it, everybody probably will agree to this. Drone is still in early stages in terms of maturity for the US, right? As much as we want to fast paces, we want to evolutionize it, we want to automate it, it's going to take a minute. So that integration is the next level that we are working towards with our R&D and the Bell Labs, but that is something that I totally can see is coming.
Okay, that makes sense. And my last question
Please.
is with the implementation of this, is this typically, it's sent at the like say there's a call to a dispatcher, you know, the emergency happening, it's actually sent at the same time as PD or fire, or they send it first and, you know, verify, which technically would then be like a 2-minute response, but also a 2-minute delay?
Great question. So the question was, when does the drone deploy? And so with the addition of Live 911, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Live 911, there's other systems that have similar. The person flying the drone or making the decision is deploying while the 911 call comes in. So 911 operator plus dispatch time is part of the delay in the process. The drone often is already on scene while dispatch is still, or 911 operator could be talking. So they're run in parallel. The drone deploying is completely independent of ground decisions and medical personnel or police personnel. So they're deploying at the same time. The 911 calls comes up and the question is, or ALPR, license plate hit. At that point, it's the real-time crime center initiating a call for service. So the drone's being deployed the same time as a patrol officer or fire unit.
So ultimately, it's probably really operations decision. They could, you know, implement it however
So
they
the
want, I
live
guess.
feed goes to the operating. So if it's a person with a weapon, right? Maybe the police stage around the corner, right? They see a live feed and they can make situational decisions based on it, but the deployment's at the same time.
Right.
Simultaneously.
So okay, so the same time the drone leaves, the PD or fire, more what I'm thinking, leaves, because you know,
They could
like
be,
a fire doubles every 90 seconds or something. Yeah.
Part of the delay is just that phone call.
Yep,
dispatch,
totally get that.
right?
Absolutely.
And because the drone is the first responder, it's not the only first responder. It's a first responder. Right? It's just one more tool. Think of it as a flying camera, like you have cameras around your agency or in city. This is just a flying camera.
Got it. No, I was just curious about the typical, you know, because it's kind of new. The way it gets used might vary from one place to another. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have a question? Oh, cool.
Thanks for that presentation. That's great. Very near and dear to my heart. I also came up through telecommunications. I was an Ascend employee early on, so you and I have a lot of history in carrier infrastructure sales. Nice to hear that you guys are moving into this space. I also moved into public safety and designed the visualization systems for both of your customers at Elk Grove and at San Francisco Police Department. So it's just interesting to see how this is all coming full circle. I can speak a bit to your question since I was spending a lot of time in the trenches with those teams. Oftentimes what comes in, Mandy Montalvo is here, when one of her team receives a 911 call, the real-time crime center is connected very closely, and they're able to respond effectively and efficiently, collaborating together, launching their drone and going into a heightened state if that's the appropriate path for that group. Very, very typical for real-time crime centers to become justified, and then visualization systems such as ours to become justified as a result of that. A lot of drone manufacturers in the market, a lot of drone as first responder folks who are in that space. Did I understand correctly that you guys are building your own drone and analytics systems as well, or are you going to be bringing in separate third-party folks?
So that is, and thank you. Great to hear the context and great question. So short answer is yes, Nokia has built their own true drone-in-a-box solution. This is not being outsourced. This is built in Finland at the Nokia factory at the mothership.
That's great news.
The software obviously is flexible enough,
I see.
right, to what Stephen is just mentioning, like the second half of your question I was going to mention on that, is the analytics part of it, right? So obviously Nokia has its own intelligence, but then, like I was mentioning, if you remember, the open SDKs, right, the open API that we have, that allows us to integrate with the industry leaders like Motorola's, and there's a whole set of ecosystem players.
That sounds like a very powerful solution.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, please.
One last thing, because you mentioned a really good point. I was in the San Francisco RTC, our Real-Time Crime Center, yesterday for most of the day. There's lots of feeds, right? Lots of camera feeds, lots of happening. Ties into your analytics, right? Some things might happen local, right? Because again, it's difficult to deal with moving pictures versus a stationary camera when you're talking about pixel change and things like that and adding analytics, but there's stuff happening there. But the integration with the Real-Time Crime Center, Real-Time Watch Center, this is the next evolution of it, is external cameras, drones in boxes flying, and putting it all together. And one of the reasons we're partnering with Nokia is not just that they're U.S. compliant, right, non-Chinese, but also that their wizardry, I guess I'd call, around cellular, and listening to them talk to a carrier and tweak it, because how many people had a cell phone drop within the last month, right? It happens. So how do you do that with a mission-critical drone, right? And Nokia's figured that out, and partnering with Motorola, for example, it helps build out that ecosystem. So hopefully that's helpful. But the Real-Time Crime Center you mentioned, critical part of this overall, this is where it lives, ideally.
We got one more.
Oh, please. Absolutely. Go ahead, Larry.
I've been following this drone thing really closely lately, and there's a lot of ways to hack a drone right now. So is your system less hackable? You buy a Chinese drone right now, it's like they're RF based. The hacker can hack it so fast that it can be down in seconds. So just want to know.
Right, and this is no secret to us, right, that what's happening around us in the world, right, in terms of especially what's happening on the other side of the continent, there's always going to be good and bad in anything you do in life, right, in terms of technology and non-technology in general. So people are using drones in a way that we never thought they would be used in terms of doing certain things, right? And then there are things that we are responsible for in terms of making sure that people are safe. So the answer to your question is yes, there's encryption available. Now, is it bulletproof in terms of if somebody, bad person or somebody, an entity tries to do something to hack into it, future will tell, right? But so far, it's encrypted. We have done everything that we can to lock and load to make sure that it's safer, it's seamless, and protected. Yes, exactly.
It's as safe as a cell phone, which is much safer than RF. Yes. To your point, RF is very, I don't want to say hackable, but it's as safe as a cell phone right now.
Anybody else? Well, cool. Thank you, and looking forward to hopefully you attending our California 2025.
You got it, Manny.
All right.
Well, thank you again, guys. Thank you for letting us come over here, talk to you guys. I'm based out of SoCal, and looking forward to our continued discussions. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very much. Appreciate it. Well, thank you all very much. We're going to go ahead and take a quick, 12-minute break. So back at 11 o'clock, we're going to reconvene. So restrooms are right out through these doors. Get some coffee, pastries, network. See you at 11.
They say I'll write disposable music. I say that I fight for my right to sing what I want. They'll try to finagle me, sound here or there, but I'd rather bleed
air squadron members, and we outfitted it with all the camera and all the mission equipment, and it became operational in 2021, maybe right at the beginning of 22. And then we have a third aircraft that we got from our task force that we managed and took over, and that became fully mission ready in 2020 into 2023. So now we got 2 fixed wing, 1 helicopter, and a bunch of drones. So we started backwards, and one of the things, I think it was Vertical magazine did an article about our unit, how, when they interviewed us, they said, well, it's kind of backwards what everybody else does. But more and more, as we're seeing, we're working with the dispatchers. There's going to be some questions that may come up at the end, I hope, because I want to answer a couple. I know these guys have some questions for you as to why you do business your way, and we, as operators in the sky, are listening to it, and it gets a little tedious. So, but I know they know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to see if you all happen to bring it up. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Justin Brandon, which is going to start our UAV portion, and he'll talk about all these little fun things here and go through it.
Good morning. Deputy Justin Brandon. I recently took over our UAV, or our SUAS unit, a few months back from Sergeant Coda, which is a pretty good honor. I'm pretty happy to be in charge of the unit. I have a lot of interest in the drones. We're just going to cover some basics between the UAV and aviation units, kind of go through, our fleets, some videos for you guys, and if you guys have any questions at any time, please raise your hand, ask. That's what we're here for. So as the LT said, we started this program. It started in 2014 is when they started the process, and 2015 was actually our first flight. Did anybody know 2015, how the drones were back then? Let me show you. This is our first mission ever, September 18th, 2015. This is out on the edge of Byron, one of our areas, our rural areas. I believe this was a domestic violence call. And the suspect was somewhere on the property. This is a Lockheed quadcopter QR425. This is before my time. I've been on the unit for about 4 years. As you can tell, it's pretty shaky. This is a GoPro mounted on to a drone that, as you can tell, is kind of pretty difficult to control. We bought 2 of these. I'll go over, well, I have a slide to show you exactly how these are, but we bought 2 of these back in 2015, 2014, and used those exclusively until, I'll get into until what happened. So that was our first mission. Kind of hard to control, very shaky, hard to see stuff. One of our more recent missions, it's a overall video of how the drones are now and how they interact with other units on the street. So a little bit different. I know it's not just a straight drone video, but it really goes to show how these drones are incorporated to our everyday call volume at our patrol stations and surrounding areas. This was kind of a perfect storm of a call. Cops was on scene. We had our media unit out, and this guy was with what they believe was carjacking this white van when they got the call. Goes running, drones in the air quickly because they were responding, and it really helped solidify the area that he went into, right? He last seen going in that house with the drone. If we didn't see that, we might have had a wide perimeter. Who knows if he could have got somewhere else. So these drones are great tools. They're used for not only just like situational awareness and officer safety, but they're really used as they can be used as a deconfliction tool as well. So not only are officers safer, but the suspects are safer also. You notice we had a drone over the house, and we sent one inside the house. Everyone's pretty aware of the drone's capabilities nowadays, but that was kind of a game changer for law enforcement when we could actually send a drone inside instead of a live body, and now we have that that suspect on officer interaction that may turn who knows which way, right? So with these, we can send a drone in, get eyes on that suspect. They can actually talk to them through the drones with speakers and all those sorts of things, and kind of use that as a deconfliction, or let them go out the backyard, run away, and get bit by a dog, whatever that guy decides he wants to do. So anyway, so the technology has come a long way. So we're just going to kind of go over our ACSO fleet and what we have as far as drones and personnel. So as of right now, we have 25 pilots on the UAV team. Those operators are spread all throughout the county. Some are on patrol, some are here at the jail, some are at corners. They're all over the place, and that can make quick responses, which is good. The Lockheed Martin, that first drone that we saw that was shaking all over the place, you can see it has a GoPro here. That's kind of what was the new upcoming technology back then. Lockheed was trying to get their quad rotors going up. You know, it didn't do a great job, but it did a job. One successful flight. So there was a lot of connectivity issues. There's a lot of issues with the drones then, and I believe back then they were having so many issues, they just decided, hey, let's go down to Best Buy, buy one of those ones off the shelf, and we will start using that. And the technology for the DJI product that we have, or what they had back then, was just head and shoulders above those Lockheed. So that's kind of how we got into the DJI game. We are, as of right now, we are 100% DJI drones. So all of our drones that we use are DJI products. I know the concerns with that, but we haven't had really any issues other than when we work with the Secret Service and they don't let us fly them. So other than that, this is the Phantom series. This is one of our first drones, DJI products that we had. That was kind of what the norm was back then, back in the 2015, 16, 17 era. The battery life is better. The cameras were much better. And then we went to the Mavic. We got some Mavic series. If I can get a Vanna White, you can hold up one of those. Thank you. So those are mostly used for our interior stuff. So we can fly these in tight quarters. You can see that you got the cages around the propellers there. So if it hits something, it can kind of bounce off and move around inside a house, whether it's whatever it may be, a lamp, doorway. We can kind of bounce a little bit, and they're pretty durable. And the cost for these is much cheaper. So this drone, about $600. So we go in to a house, a guy decides he wants to take a baseball bat to it. Cool, $600 is $600, but it's a lot better than that guy trying to take a baseball bat to an officer, surprising him, and now we got an officer involved shooting, and or worse, we got an officer that's injured or something around those lines. So again, great deconfliction tools. Next is our Mavic series that we got. So these are kind of the workhorse of our unit. These are used mostly for exterior, but we can do it. We do have guards that we can attach for interior use as well. This comes with a thermal camera. It has attachments for speakers, lights, all sorts of stuff. This is the drone that you saw in that video, the second video I showed, that was actually getting overwatch on that residence and following that guy through the neighborhood and seeing him go into that house. So every one of our members on the team is issued a Mavic and a Mini. So if they respond, they don't have to go back and go get gear at an office and then go. They can actually just go straight to the call, and they'll have pretty much any call that we have, we can do with these two drones here. Again, cost is a little bit more expensive, but much better than $49,000. Battery life is really good. These actually go up to about, so this is the Mavic 2 series that's up there, Mavic 3, and now the Mavic 4 is coming out, which the battery life on these are about 45 minutes, and the Mavic 4s are supposed to be even better than that. So great digital zoom on these. And then we got the Matrice series. So these are really for our pre-planned search warrants, some of those pre-planned events. Battery life is much better. The camera is much better, but they're significantly more expensive, anywhere from $15,000 to $17,000, and the newest model of the 350 is about $35,000, $40,000. So much more expensive, but again, great tools. They get that bird's eye view, and we can provide real-time updates to our officers, which is, in our industry, is pretty huge. These newer models are waterproof, so they can fly in the rain. Weather is usually not a factor with these. You just got to make sure you take care of them and maintenance afterwards. So that's our 300, our Matrice 300, and then this is the 30 that he just held up here. So again, this is waterproof, so if it was like this morning, I was doing a search warrant with the U.S. Marshals, and we used one of these, and it got a little bit wet, but it wasn't an issue. Another thing we have in our fleet, which is really beneficial, and a lot of agencies really like and ask us, hey, how did you guys do this? How do you guys set up your cars? We have multiple what we call UAV Tahoes. So we got Tahoes with 43-inch TVs in the back, as you can see up here, right? So these are basically just nothing, I don't want to say nothing special Tahoes, but they're, for the most part, stock Tahoes that all we do is we add some TVs and some storage in the back, some inverters, some breakers, and we can charge our drones. So these can be a quick response vehicle. So if we get a call, we can have units respond. We have 3 on-call people 24 hours a day that work 1 week shifts. So they're on call for 24 hours a day. And they are issued one of these Tahoes, and if something happens at 2 o'clock in the morning and they need a UAV and there's nobody available that's on duty, they love getting woken up. So please call my guys. They really like getting up at 2 a.m. to go to Oakland to check a rooftop. But these are really good response vehicles. A lot of success with these. We can use these as mini command centers. So we'll set these up on search warrants again, and then have that incident commander be looking, instead of looking over our shoulder, right? Because we're holding a little screen like this, and they're over your shoulder, and they're like, oh man, he didn't wear deodorant today, and thinking about other stuff. They can actually see a big screen, see a better, clearer image. And then we have, they're called Panasonic Pressets. Basically, it's a wireless connection that goes to that TV, and we can split the screen between 2 different, actually up to 4 different drone feeds, but we usually do 2 different drone feeds at a time, so they can see the front and the rear of the house both at the same time without looking back and forth at controllers. So it's a really, really good setup. We have a Mercedes Sprinter as well. We got this for more of our long-term deployments. We used to respond to a lot of fires. When we first started, we were really one of the only agencies, public safety agencies, using drones, and we would go up to fires for a week at a time all over the place. So we got this. This is basically a mobile command center for our drone unit. It's great. It's a great vehicle, charging multiple workstations inside. It has a diesel generator in the back, so we can run on power for a long time, get us to where we need to go. It has a 50-foot boom. So this will actually go up to 50 feet, and it has a high-resolution HD camera with pretty good zoom capabilities on there. We also have Starlink that we can set up, so in our rural areas, go out into the fire somewhere where we might not have that reception, we can actually use Starlink and get that reception and not go offline if there's some kind of issue with the drones we need to update or use our phones to talk to other people, that kind of stuff. So it's a really good tool as well. So we have two different type of drone deployments. We have I guess we heard a little bit about drone first responder, and then we have what we call our tactical deployments. We'll kind of go over each one and talk about just the pros and cons for each of them. So our tactical deployments, these are going to be our in-field deployments upon request. So those on-call guys or those people that are actually working, this is really who you're gonna call. We use it for all sorts of missions. We had 2 search warrants this morning, which we use what we call our tactical deployments. We can go anywhere within the county, be there within 30, 45 minutes, depending on obviously traffic, because traffic makes a difference around here. We can use pretty much anything and get anything we need as needed. So we can do an exterior, we can do interior, we can send guys to go get more drones as one goes to the scene and lets us know what we need. So these tactical deployments are really good for our calls for service. Like I said, interior and exterior capabilities, so they can use anything in our fleet and get what we need. And then we have drone first responder. I know we talked about they were talking about drone first responder a little bit just a minute ago. But this drone first responder, is anybody unfamiliar with drone first responder? I don't know how deep you guys covered it. Cool. So basically what this is going to be a quicker response time to a certain location. And what I mean by that is there is a launch site on ETS. We can do a 3-mile radius. Anywhere within 3 miles, we can fly immediately. We get that call. We're listening to it live. 911 is coming in. As you guys are getting the call, we're listening in. And as they're giving you information, hey, I'm at 123 Main Street. I just got robbed. Okay, you guys got a whole list of questions you ask, right? Well, as you're asking those questions, I'm launching this drone and going to 123 Main Street. So before you guys can, as you're gathering that information that patrol needs, I'm actually already responding and trying to get a camera, basically a camera overhead for that, again, that situational awareness. Sometimes 2, 3, 4 minutes can go by before deputies can respond or we get that radio traffic out, depending on what's going on. This is a great tool for those quick response times, but these are going to be these are going to be specific launch sites. So if you're outside that launch site area, we're not going to be responding to that. We'll have to send one of our tactical guys over that. But we can get over there, provide real-time updates. Right now, or we just did a couple trials, and we're trying to get this to go full-time. But Flying Lion, they're here. They spoke a little bit. So they had a guy on a roof basically watching. He's what we call the RPIC. He's the pilot in command, and he's actually has the controllers in his hands. He's watching that drone, making sure there's no air traffic around, making sure they keeps eye on it, so not running into anything. And there's a lot of safeguards that are in place for that. And then I was the teller operator, which I was in an office in the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, the ETS RTIC, the Real-Time Information Center, and I'm flying that on a computer with a keyboard and a mouse. So I'm not using a controller, and that feed is now being spread out it can be spread out to the MDTs of the officers. It can be put into commanders' computers. That feed from the drone can be spread out so we can get some of those real-time information, or that real-time updates that can be huge, right? You can see how that, if I get a drone overhead and how many times have we heard, oh, this guy's got a gun, and it's a hair comb, and I can use these drones that have 200 to 400 times zoom on them to really zoom in, see his waistband, see what's in his hands prior to deputies ever showing up. And I can see that he's combing his hair, and maybe, right, I could say, hey, I don't know if he's armed or not, but just to let you know, he's got a hair comb in his right hand. Or, hey, be aware, we were in San Francisco the other night, and the guy was sitting on a rooftop, and it looked like he had a hammer. So somebody called, said, this guy's on a rooftop. They send a DFR, they send the drone over there, and the guy's got a hammer kind of hidden behind him where the officers couldn't see. So we can get those different angles, that bird's eye view, which is crucial sometimes for us. So that's the difference kind of between the tactical and the drone first responder side of it. And I just got some videos of showing, I think I got some videos. There it goes. Showing some of these calls that we've gone to with our drones. There's this. So this was a 459 guy, deputy set up on the front of the house. The back of the house is kind of a rural area with the hills. We couldn't get They couldn't get the officers back there. This guy decides to light the house on fire. When I say house, I mean apartment complexes where everybody else also lives. Lights it on fire to cover his escape. We had a drone in the back, which he didn't, at the time, this was still pretty new, so he wasn't even paying attention to. Puts his hoodie up. No suspect description, so we don't know who we're going after, right? And now he's just going to nonchalantly walk away. Well, luckily with those drone updates, we can get those drones real low, get some unique views, and we can provide those updates to the officers. Hey, just to let you know, suspect, all black, wearing a backpack, hoodie over his head, just coming to the number 3-4 corner of that apartment complex, okay? We can put units where we need them instead of units being surprised as they're walking around the corner. So needless to say, this guy had nowhere to go. He was caught, and he knew it. Officers come around the corner. They detain him. I think a dog gets to chew on him a little bit. He wasn't listening to commands, and all right, zoom in so we all can watch. It's perfect. So, yeah. So these have been real successful. Is anybody unfamiliar with what our reset team is? Regional Sideshow Enforcement Team. We do around our area to combat some of the sideshows that are going on. Well, as you know, people from sideshows don't like to stop for the police. So our manned aircraft will follow them until they decide to either crash, a car runs out of gas, something happens where they stop and foot bail. We send our drones over as they're keeping eyes on them, and we can get a different perspective on what they got. And we've had a lot of success with some of those deployments. So this is a thermal camera. Again, this is going to be on one of our Mavic series, our smaller drones. This is a thermal camera this is pitch black out at night in a neighborhood, and you can see how he's just glowing. So we can actually provide those updates. Hey, he's running to the front of the house, set up a big perimeter. Now we can collapse those guys on this guy, and then just stay on him and enjoy the show. Luckily, he didn't tackle him into the swimming pool because this was a cold night. But, right, so you can see the benefit of this, right? The drones are also used more than just crimes in progress. They're also used for crime scene mapping, so we can actually make a 3D reconstruction of that image after a fact. So this was on what we call Four Corners, Hespering and Llewellyn. This is an ambulance that was going code, and a guy decided to run the red light, hit him. This is all the fluids from that ambulance. So we made a 3D reconstruction of this scene. You can actually, to the centimeter, pretty much do measurements. You can see these blue marks. The investigators can go back after we make that 3D image, which can take, as little as 15 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on how big your crime scene is. They can go after the fact and reconstruct that scene. The time-saving features on this are huge. If you had a motor officer with, I don't even know what they're called, the little ball with the laser devices on there, Leica scanner, that would take hours to do, right? Hours to do. So that whole intersection, which is a busy intersection for us, we can reopen that, get all the data that we need, and reopen that within minutes.
Yeah,
so
that was actually the first on scene on that one, and actually did all the mapping on it, and it took me 10 minutes, and I was done. So just to show the difference between using the Leica scan. We've come a long way on the PIX 4D program with that, and Penny's been kind of spearheading that. So it's just an amazing time saver.
Yeah, we use that a lot for the fires, so the fire guys can reconstruct what happened and how that fire spread, all sorts of different things. We can actually hold the drone inside a house and scan. If there was a murder inside, we can actually use the lasers on the drone to recreate that interior of a house as well. So lots of benefits to it. Investigators love it, and pretty much any major crime scene they have now is they're calling us for. This is a search and rescue. This is a adult female that walked away. If you know what to look for, you can probably already spot her. This is what we call black hot. There's a difference between black hot and white hot. It's just basically a filter that we can apply. So anything black is going to be hotter than the area that's surrounding it, right? So the darker the black, the hotter the object is. Well, this is in January in the middle of the night. She walks away. Mental capabilities of, I want to say 7, 8-year-old, something like that. She walked away, hid under a tree, just to try to stay warm. Families concerned. As you can tell, this is a big area that would take a long time. It was up in the Dublin Hills. That would take a long time to do with officers, right? Walk in that scene where we can get overhead. We can then use our spotlights to confirm, yes, that is a person. It's not just a deer hunkered down or a cow or something. That looks like we got a person in a fetal position, and we can send a rescue unit to them right away. This drone doesn't find them, and the officers don't find them. She's not making it in the morning. It was freezing cold. Yeah, so he just said they were searching for hours, and it took just a few minutes to find it with the drone. So we can cover a huge area. These drones go up to 50 miles an hour. Well, we have one that goes 98 miles an hour. It's called an FPV drone. We don't use too often, but there's certain circumstances where we could. But they're great tools. Fire response is also another use of these things. So again, using that thermal imaging, you can actually see the hot spots and see where the fires, and we can have one of those battalion chiefs or whoever looking over on our Tahoes and saying, hey, there's a hot spot here. We can't see it, right? But that part of the roof is hot, so they know there's something underneath there, or whatever the case is. So the thermal imaging is really useful. It's a great tool. This is one of our recent DFR missions. So these are suspects that were seen in the back of the apartment complex. Deputies knew they were back there. They were 246 suspects. They shot into an inhabited dwelling the night before. I was overhead. I saw them get in the car, and they left. And as they're getting in the car, I'm giving updates to our patrol guys that were just about to come into that parking lot. So they would have never known that without me overhead. They wouldn't have known that they got in this Dodge Charger because they didn't have eyes on them. Wouldn't have known they got into this Dodge Charger and decided to flee from officers. So this officer says, hey, this is going to be a failure to yield. We're not going to be in pursuit of this. We're not pursuing this. I'm a drone. This drone was, with the program we were using, it was capped at 33 miles an hour. He's going a little bit faster than that. But I'm able to at least utilize that long throw of that camera, and I'm able to stay with him. I worked patrol for 11 years, so pretty familiar with the area. This turn right here, you guys will like this. That turn cost the sheriff's office $7,000. And here's why. When I'm flying with a keyboard and mouse, I got to take my hand off, and I have to talk into the radio. What does all you guys wear? Headsets, foot pedal? Yeah, we had to order one of those with a whole new radio system. They said, oh, it's going to be about $7,000. I was like, okay, well, that was an expensive turn. Anyway, so I'm able to keep up with him, just kind of provide updates. We have spike strips that we can use, try to get officers in front of those, in front of that suspect. He's not being chased, but he's still driving like a jerk, passing people over the center median. And again, I'm way away, but I'm just utilizing the zoom on that camera. Right now, I'm just having fun, just following that thing as long as I can till we can get units in front. My whole plan was, hey, he's going northbound mission, coming up the Maddox, right? Hopefully, somebody can get up there with spike strips, stop this guy, and we can get everybody in pocket. Wasn't the case. Patrol was busy. So again, I'm just providing updates, constantly providing updates. Anybody that's seen the actual manned aircraft, they know this footage is a little bit different, right? Helicopter would have no problem staying up with this guy for the most part, where us as a drone that's going 33. So the drones and the helicopters really complement each other. I can't do what they can do, and they can't do some of the stuff that I can do. So it's a really good complement. So I'm getting on the radio again, calling for updates, take my hand off the sticks, and now I'm like, oh no, I lost it. How did I lose him? That's a one-way. Pick him back up on the edge of the screen. You see on the left there. 238 towards 880. I'll let you know if he goes north or south. I'm just giving updates. I'm the only guy looking at this thing. I'm looking at it from a drone that's a long way away. This is with our DFR program. Okay, so it looks like he's going to go northbound, then he does last minute. All right, he's going to be going southbound. And at this point, I'm thinking, I can't stay with this thing much longer. He's going to be gone. Well, luckily, it sounds like someone was listening. CHP was actually monitoring our channel. They heard it and said, hey, what is CHP called? I want to say Eagle. It's whatever it was. Yeah, H something. They said, hey, we're overhead. We got it. And I was like, perfect. So helicopter ended up picking it up. It flees, goes into Hayward, makes a U-turn, goes into Oakland. That was a legit crime car. All the VINs were gone, taken off everything, scraped off. That car was used to do a lot of badness, and we got it in pocket, so it was good. Without that DFR, we would have lost that thing for sure. How to request a UAV. So for the tactical side of it, its request is going to be made through Sheriff's Dispatch. Information that you guys hopefully can provide us is the nature of the call. The location obviously is a big thing. Description of the device or suspect. The reason I say device is because we get EOD callouts. They like a picture that they can send to us, and sometimes they say, hey, we can't get close enough for a high resolution photo. Can you use that fancy camera you got? Sure, we'll come take a look at it. And then a point of contact is big. So if it's a sergeant from another agency, get us that phone number so we can have a good contact, so we're not just something changes and they move their CP for whatever reason, or if the guy gets in pocket and we're trying to respond code for some reason, we know. Again, photographs of the item, person of interest, and then we can be on scene pretty much anywhere in the county within an hour. That's depending on traffic. Usually 30 minutes or less in our actual jurisdiction. And then obviously all of our requests are approved by our commanding officer, which is the captain, which we introduced earlier. Any questions with UAV before I turn it over?
I have one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So when we started in 2000, for a full year 2016, I think we did up right about 100 missions throughout the year, and then it steadily increased and increased. And then with the change in some of our policies, we kind of expected it to kind of do a counter and drop. I think we were at about 250 missions averaging per year, give or take.
Yeah, give or take, high twos.
And so what are we at now this year? As of now?
I just issued a report number for 348, so 348 missions for the year.
So they're doing a great job. They're actually, their usefulness we knew was going to be there, and there was always a concern with different aviation units. Pilots and the man side were, a little leery on the UAVs taking their job, and we saw it differently. We saw it, they complement one another. There's things that we can do that they can't, and vice versa. So they've expanded. I was actually shocked when I've watched it throughout the year. So they're definitely an item being utilized in many different ways. So great to see.
Yeah, and that 348 is from our tactical deployments only. That doesn't include the DFR, and that's not flights. Some of those missions we have 24 plus flights per mission, which all have to be logged. So a lot of work goes into it, and our team I think our team does a really good job. We really got it dialed in. So, but if you have any questions, if you think of anything, let me know.
Yeah, we'll wait to the end and after the aviation side of that. So thank you, Justin.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to turn it over to Deputy Foote, the actually helo pilot, and Deputy Taylor, and they're going to go through this program. There is quite a bit of video that's taken on it. The first one I think they'll give you really is to show an overview as well as what our fixed wing and our helicopter capabilities are.
Good morning. Again, I'm Deputy Aaron Foote, one of the pilots, tactical flight officers with the unit. My primary role is going to be, here in the near future, is going to be the helicopter pilot for the agency. So we got a presentation, just goes over a brief overview of our program, our capabilities, limitations, and we have some videos to show, and we will also take any questions at the end.
The video's a little old, so bear with us. Some of the music, the volume's kind of crazy. We're working on making a new one right now.
All right, just a brief overview of the program. So as the lieutenant said, we have one Bell 505 helicopter that we received in 2020. And then 2 fixed-wing aircraft, both identical. All 3 aircraft in the fleet are equipped with the same mission equipment, so the TFOs can bounce between the fixed wing and the helicopter with a seamless transition. With some small variations between the helicopter and the fixed wing. Helicopter, we're a lot lower. We have a PA system on board that we can make announcements, spotlight that we use to complement the thermal camera that we do have on board. The lieutenant covered it. 3 personnel right now, full-time sworn. The lieutenant, myself, and Deputy Perea. We also have 4 contract fixed-wing pilots that assist with flying our fixed wings. They're all civilian. A couple of them fly for the airlines, and the other 2 are retired. And then we also have 2 contract retired annuitant helicopter pilots. One of our pilots came from the military, 10 years flying Blackhawks, and our retired annuitant, who's our chief pilot, has got a wealth of knowledge coming from Oakland PD, helped run their helicopter unit for 15 plus years, and then was an important part of starting up the program here. All right, just a quick video of some of the stuff we've done, as Taylor said. It's a little old, so I'll just bear with it. That's good. So as you can see in some of these videos, we have a mapping overlay program, augmented reality system that allows us to go anywhere in the county, anywhere in the world really, and we can know exactly what street we're looking at, parcel numbers, will give us railways, hiking trails, any businesses we can punch in.
This call was interesting. We got a call, I can't remember the agency, but they wanted us to look for a white colored SUV on 880 that had a pink license plate frame, and that's all we had. It was like I think they said it was a Toyota. We found this on 880 and started following it just because they were driving kind of weird. And it ended up being the right car, and we on-viewed a robbery of that woman in the parking lot, and then this is the end of it. This was a dog that it was a robbery of a dog. I don't know if you guys remember seeing on the news, little Tito. Tito got stolen and it was a big deal. And investigators were working around the clock to try to find this dog, and they found it. This is a good example of what infrared can look like for us. This was a nice cold night, and obviously he's nice and hot because he's running. He thought he was slick and would hunker down behind this fence, but we had visual of him the whole time, and we were able to safely guide these guys to him. Little different perspective of that call you guys saw earlier where the guy was splashing water on the drone. A little hiccup with the puppies there. One dog was released through the house while the other one was in the backyard, and well, they both wanted to play, and so they started fighting over it.
The suspect forgot to shut the back door when he left.
If someone is running across the freeway for you guys, trying to stop you, don't stop. One of these kind citizens decided to stop, and you'll see here in a second that he decides to carjack them with a knife around their neck.
So you can see in the top left-hand corner, the TFO can get the address, punch it in, and it'll give the pilot a heading, distance to the target, and our current time based on the current airspeed. So there's minimal communication between the pilot and the TFO when trying to navigate to a call. The pilot can look over, see the TFO is punching something in, sees that heading come up, and as soon as that heading's up, the pilot's turning that direction and we're starting towards that. So we can be on scene, especially with the camera, within a minute. Being in the county might be a little wider, so our response time, if we're coming from across the county, we're looking at about 10 minutes. But I've had the camera on scene about 8 miles out, able to get details. It's rough because it's going to be real fuzzy at that point, but if as long as you got a good line of sight, we could start providing some basic intel to the officers responding.
Yeah, for instance, this particular one right here was just a traffic stop. We keyed in the intersection that they were doing the traffic stop on, and we saw, okay, they're not stopping, they took off. So we were able to take over that call right away. Officers were able to shut it down, and we just provided updates while people kind of trailed behind. And no one's following him at this point, and he decides that he's all worked up, and he starts running into cars. So this is all information that they would never have known about had we not been overhead.
And this is what we're waiting for. They think they've gotten away from the units on the ground. They're in the clear, they'll park it, get out and start walking away, and that's when we guide the ground units in that have been trailing. So this is one of our investigative units that have been following close behind, and we had them in pocket within 30 seconds from giving up the vehicle. So this started off as a robbery or a stolen vehicle of that box truck. A family was getting ready to move the next day, so they had all their possessions in that U-Haul box truck. This guy decides to jump in and take it from one of our sectors in our jurisdiction. We had the airplane up that night supporting a DUI campaign out in Oakland, so we had, I think, 10 to 12 two-man cars out there. We heard this call coming our way. We picked up the pursuit on the freeway. We were able to call it to this endpoint. So we had probably 15 to 20 units coming to this call to assist. I think if the rear tires of this U-Haul truck did not become disabled, this outcome could have gone bad. He was determined to get away. But the taser, when it works, it works. All right, so those are just some of our older videos that kind of gives you like a broad perspective of what we see and do from the air. Just an overview of our current schedule and how things work. We are a Monday to Friday operation right now, supporting, I know Deputy Brandon brought up the reset operations. So we're helping out with that every other weekend as long as weather permits. Well, right now we're a Tuesday to Friday operation, looking to go back to Monday, noon to 10. We do have an aircraft on standby on Mondays for those critical incidents where air support is required or needed. And we're not sitting at the airport waiting for a call to respond. We found that a call is over within a minute to 2 minutes if an air unit's not overhead for a pursuit or a priority call, a robbery. So we found that being up and operational in the area cuts down or helps boost the success rate of the call. So we generally plan for about an hour and a half to 2 flights, or hour and a half to 2 hour flights. That limits us. With the helicopter, we're limited on fuel. The airplane can fly a lot longer, but then fatigue starts setting in for the crew. And then we're shooting for about 4.5 to 5 hours of flight time a day. If a critical incident does come out on the ground, if it meets certain parameters, we're going to go. We'll talk about our response times a little later. And then we do have after-hour call-outs that can be approved by Lieutenant Bonnell, which we've been on several of those as well. A little bit about the helicopter, talking about our max cruise speed, 125 knots, about 144 miles an hour. It's certified for 1 pilot and 4 passengers, but with the additional weight on board with all the mission equipment, we're never flying with 5 people on board. Generally, it's going to be just a pilot and a tactical flight officer. We do have a rear monitor in the back that allows for training newer pilots or tactical flight officers, so we're looking for about a crew of, we have a crew of 3 at that point, but generally, it's going to be a 2-man operation. It's equipped with the moving map system, as you saw, our radio system. We have a Technosonic radio, so we can have, I think, upwards of 1,200 radios loaded within the aircraft. So we have, I would say, every agency within Alameda County, we have their radios. We got neighboring counties, Cocoa County, we're working on Santa Clara, we have San Joaquin's, so we can pretty much go anywhere. And if we don't have a radio channel, we can get that loaded pretty quickly. We also have the searchlight, which we use intermittently. With the thermal camera, it's not really needed. We might use it as like a diversion tactic. We'll throw the spotlight in a certain area. So the suspect thinks we're not looking at him, but we're actually watching him on the thermal camera. So hopefully he'll move, or we can just walk the ground units into him. The PA system, we can make canine announcements, shelter-in-place announcements, missing persons, and that can be heard clearly on the ground from about 1,000 feet. It's crystal clear. And then we have a cargo hook for firefighting. Don't really see us ever doing that. Our role in the firefighting aspect is more of doing the PA announcements and calling in egress and ingress routes for the firefighters on scene. And then we can also tell them the direction the fire's moving and if any hazards are coming up. With our fuel load, we're looking at about 1.5 hours to 2 hours of flight. We can land at any airport, fuel up there to get back up in the air quickly if we need to. And a lot of agencies on the ground or people that are requesting us don't understand the weather limitations that we have to abide by. So we need the clouds to be at about 1,300 feet for us to be, that puts us at about 800 feet above the ground to operate safely. So that's an FAA standard, and that we've adopted into our policy.
This is going to be ALCO 2. We have 2 Cessna 206s, and they're pretty much the same. Little different cruise speed. You guys can see that there, 145 knots or 167 miles an hour. It is equipped to fly in clouds if needed, if the pilot's certified for that. Generally, we are 1 pilot with a co-pilot and a TFO. Just for safety, we like to have 2 people up front just in case something goes wrong. It has the same exact moving map system and radio systems as the helicopter that Aaron was talking about just a second ago. The biggest difference with the fixed wings are going to be the flight time. So if we fully load that fuel up, we're looking at about 5 hours of flight time, but we can all speak to 5 hours sitting in that small aircraft is not a lot of fun. So we really try to avoid that if we can. And another difference is going to be the weather ceilings for the fixed wing. We need the bottoms of the clouds to be at about 3,000 feet.
As Taylor said, we like to fly with either two crew up front, whether it's a pilot and another tactical flight officer, or a pilot and tactical flight officer. So if we do have a tactical flight officer sitting in the co-pilot seat, there is another small monitor up front in front of them, and as well as another technosonic radio head. So the person sitting in the co-pilot seat can assist the TFO in the back, whether it's changing radio stations, broadcasting to another agency, upcoming agency. If we're following a pursuit on the freeway, we'll start updating upcoming agencies to see if they can assist or if it does get off in their jurisdiction. There's ALCO 3. It's as Taylor said, it's got the same equipment. It's a Cessna 206. It's just not painted. We kind of covered some of our capabilities and limitations. Response times. If we're on the ground in Livermore, first we fly out of the Livermore Airport. That's where we're stationed at. First thing in the morning, the pilot comes in, does their pre-flight, and we reposition the aircraft out to the ramp so for quicker response times if a call does come in. If we're on the ground, it's going to take us about 15 to 20 minutes if we're going over to Hayward, Oakland, Fremont to get the aircraft fired up and get going that way. Doesn't mean we can't help. The TFO can start getting all that information, whether or not a perimeter needs to be set up. He can be sitting on the ground, punching in the location, and they can call perimeter positions while sitting on the ground at the airport. We've had good success with that in the past, where we've had a footbail in Berkeley. We're still on the ground. We'll let them know we're coming. We set a perimeter while we're en route. They're like, okay, perimeter units just caught the 4 guys. So we canceled and went on our way, continued with our routine patrol flight.
Probably go next.
Yeah. As we kind of spoke about the weather, that is a limiting factor to us. If the clouds are high enough and the plane gets up, unfortunately our camera system cannot see through the clouds, so if there's cloud coverage, we're no use. So we're generally not flying at that time. We also have to follow air traffic controls rules. Being in the Bay Area, we're flying in a congested airspace with Oakland, Hayward, San Francisco. We've found a sweet spot for our operating altitudes with the airplane. We're at about 4,000 feet, kind of keeps us out of the way for the arrivals into Oakland and San Francisco and the departures coming out of San Francisco as well. ATC does work with us. They are totally accommodating. If we need the airspace for something critical, they have shut down the runways to the airports and said, airspace is yours. We'll generally call them afterwards, give them a general synopsis of what happened, and they love to be able to assist us with that. The TFO is often monitoring. It says 4+, it's probably close to 7 radios. The technosonic radio, we have 5 police radios going at once, so if everyone's talking at once, that TFO is trying to decipher all that information coming through the headset. And then we also have air traffic control and our intercom inside the aircraft. So the pilot is primarily monitoring ATC. That's their primary responsibility. They try and help out with the law enforcement channels when they can, but if the workload gets too high, they're going to be punching those off, and then the law enforcement radios are going to be on the TFO, and vice versa. TFO is monitoring the police radios and trying to assist with ATC, looking for traffic as well. The camera system, we cannot see through trees, buildings, windows with the thermal camera. So that's also, being in the aircraft, we're always flying in orbit. I know a lot of people think, well, the news helicopters will hover in one spot. It can be done, but for a safety reason, that's why we are always orbiting. And being in some of the areas we work, it's harder to hit a moving target as well. That's where the drones come in huge, where if we are orbiting a scene and we do see a need for drones, we'll call them in and they can just park that drone right over the top of the suspect, so we're never going to lose eyes on it. This is just kind of an example of what the headset can sound like when there's 5+ radios going at once.
So you'll hear me give updates, the same updates several times. I'm switching between 2 different radios, giving the same update to 2 different agencies.
And we love CHP's low band radios.
It gets a little frustrating sometimes. So we do have the ability to simulcast as well, but we don't always do that because it obviously, I mean, you guys are aware, it ties up several channels, and it's, I mean, that's a big decision. It's got to be something pretty big to do that. Probably move on. This one just kind of gives you an example of how we may lose visual of people in orbits. So big trees, a lot of buildings, and we're orbiting, right? So our visual view of these people is always changing. Aaron switches over to the infrared camera here because in the shadows, we're still going to be able to keep a pretty good eye on them depending on how hot of a day it is. So he switches to IR to kind of continue to follow their movement. But they're out of view right now, and they won't come back in view until we get, you know, maybe another quarter turn in that orbit.
And we use the thermal camera just as much during the day as we do at night. It works great, as Taylor said, for the shadows, those dark areas that we can't see. We're just looking at an HD black and white picture right now.
And one thing to pay attention to that we learned to pay attention to is dogs, right? I mean, dogs get keyed up on things that are not normal to their environment. So if they're losing it and barking at the fence and all that, that's a clue. Some keys to mission success is just getting air support started as soon as you can. If you think this is something that air support might be useful, then give us a call, get us going, because it takes us a little bit of time to get over there. Utilizing the tools that we have, some agencies have Star Chase, we're lucky to have it. You know, spike strips, all that stuff. Things to slow the bad guy down, that helps us out a lot. And if they decide to foot bail before we're overhead, the perimeter. We always tell the guys on the ground that we need that perimeter established as soon as possible. If you can contain them and make them hunker down, great. Then we'll come overhead and we'll start working it and searching yards and doing what we do. Radio discipline is very important, and this is something that we try to convey to the patrol guys. If we're calling it, just let us call it. Unless you got something super vital that you need to get out, let us call it. And we'll show you guys a video here in a second that is an example of what can happen in a short amount of time when there's kind of a lack of radio discipline. So this Porsche, it's a Porsche Turbo S. I don't know if there's any car people out there. This is probably like a $250,000 to $300,000 Porsche. This guy owns several properties in Hayward. Decided he was going to go check on one of his properties wearing his Rolex. Caught the attention of the wrong people. They stole his Rolex, stole his Porsche, and we ended up finding it. So they tried to conduct the stop. He took off. He's doing about 100 or so on Hesperian right now in San Leandro.
This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Major thoroughfare, middle of the day.
He will get up to about 160 miles an hour when he makes this left turn.
So if this guy was on the freeway, he could easily outrun the helicopter and probably do a pretty good job with the airplane, but with the camera, as Justin showed with the DFR program.
So you hear this deputy talking right now. So, I mean, a lot happened in that amount of time, right? And it's just, that's something that after this presentation that I really wanted to bring up, especially with East Bay, just a topic that we've kind of discovered, yeah, parroting. So, is this the end?
I think so.
Yeah. So, I'll start off with a question. So parroting, I know that is common practice throughout dispatching everywhere, I'm pretty sure. But with air support units, we're obviously new to the game. So one thing that we have found is when we're following a car and it's hitting left and right and left and right, and the dispatcher's parroting, there'll be times when he's already hit, a few different turns. But the dispatcher's doing their job and putting out that parroting. How do you guys do that? Do you guys continue to parrot everything that's being said?
It kind of just depends, I think. Okay, oh, there I am. I think it just depends on the situation. If it's something like that in San Leandro, probably not. Okay. Typically, it's just if it's changing directions, it's, just parroting what direction they're going for responding units. But I have found that the more like old school dispatchers typically are short, sweet, to the point, and then the newer ones kind of carry on. I don't know if it's just nerves, but that's just what I found is it kind of varies also from dispatcher to dispatcher.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Anybody have any questions, sir?
Yeah, wait.
Yeah, in the past, it was very difficult to provide live camera feed to dispatch or whoever. Times have changed, but my question is, do you guys have any idea of how you're able to provide that live camera feed in a county as big as yours?
I knew that was coming. East Bay Regional actually does it now with CNC Live, and they do a video downlink. I don't know if they're completely happy with it. They use the Teradex system for cellular. So airplane or helicopters are great because they're low-level flying. They get cellular signal, and so it seems to work a little bit better. We just completed our installation of our receive site and was being tested today. Our airplane's down in San Diego getting outfitted. So I'm hoping where our receive site is and the aircraft comes back that the dispatch is going to be able to have access when our aircraft, the one aircraft, because we're only starting out with one because it's very expensive. If it's successful, then the idea is each aircraft that's up that dispatch will have access to the video feed, so it assists them. Are you using it much inside your dispatch center with East Bay?
The video?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have it up on the TV.
How's it working? Hit and miss? More miss?
Is there I think it just, so you know, we have Eagle 7 and Eagle 8. We're finding in, I think 7 right now it's better, but it can be choppy. I don't know if it's like weather related, but what we're kind of toying with right now is for the TFO, like sometimes because of all the stuff that you guys are doing in the helicopter, we're kind of having discussions right now. Is it something where we want somebody in the dispatch center basically saying what we're seeing? Because there was an incident recently in, I think, Oakland, where it was a lot happening and the TFO was trying to do 100 different things at the same time, and then they were trying to provide the updates, but then the camera was like all off somewhere else, and you're looking at like the the railing thing or whatever that's called on the bottom. But so we're kind of deciding, is this something where we want somebody in dispatch kind of saying what we're seeing, because we can give live updates, but we keep it up on the TV just for us to kind of know what's going on, and then if we happen to get calls from other agencies, then we have live feed. But I mean, it's pretty, for the dispatch center, it's been a game changer. It's been really cool.
Yeah, well, so to answer your question, yes, the technology's there, it's getting better. We're waiting for ours, we're very excited. It's been a rough road lately for our aviation unit with the helicopter. Now that we finally got Aaron to his commercial, we should have a full-time helicopter sworn pilot there after the first of the year. So the goal is, he'll be up. Fixed wing, we've had a maintenance issue with one aircraft that's lasted almost 2 years. So it's working and it's not working. Then the other one we had to send down to San Diego. So I feel like our wings have been clipped for the aviation unit. We really have not been able to fly as much, but hopefully that's going to change soon. So, but we're really excited to try this downlink system. Some people are not happy with it. Others that I have found that I've talked with back on the East Coast and the South are extremely happy with it. So we'll see. I think the location that I put the antenna is going to be a game changer. I like to say it is. And so East Bay is helping us out today. They're out testing it. I just got word back that the video feed was pretty good. So I'm excited. So, any other questions? I know you're hungry. So, no? Okay, well, enjoy lunch. Brenda, it's all yours, or whoever.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I love watching those K9s get the takedowns. That's awesome. So yeah, like I said, lunch is served in the back right there, and the green cooler on the right. There's drinks, sodas, all that good stuff, so help yourselves out and enjoy.